Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my weekly report. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to quickly let you know that these reports will be available exclusively through Patreon starting this week. So if you would like to continue watching them and support me, please go over to my Patreon and subscribe. They will all be available on the lowest tier. I only plan to have one tier for now, just simply to give my subscribers the option to watch my videos. I'm going to take a different creative direction with this YouTube channel, so I'm still going to use it, and you're going to get those videos too on my Patreon before they hit YouTube. I have other videos planned where I detail the mundane astrology, or rather the current astrology, and how the mundane astrology of America will be affected by that in the next 2-week period. So I have 6 private videos planned per month, and you can have access to those for $3 a month through my Patreon. So I'll see you over there. God bless you guys. Have a good day. Hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. I think you've already heard from me in that intro there, but we're going to get right into the report here. So I thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and I hope to see you in the future. So we're going to start here on Sunday. I'm having a little trouble getting this recorded, but let's do the best we can. I'm feeling a little different, a little adventurous today. So we're gonna only look at the traditional planets. Oh, why, you ask? What's wrong with the outer planets? Because they don't technically tell us things. We kind of just intuitively understand what they mean. But I kind of want to just see if we can just ignore them and like what happens. That's the goal. So, so we'll take a quick look. So in this chart, Mars is opposing Neptune. He's trying to Pluto on Monday exactly. The Sun is trying to Uranus exactly on Monday. We talked about this last week. It's a very interesting new moon chart. Venus is square to Pluto. So we're just going to kind of roll that all up into a ball of, the inner planets, the traditional planets, intertraditional planets that are going through these obscure or otherwise, dim or challenging forces. They're all retrograde, so they're more internal. But with the Sun and Uranus specifically, I think we have, a sense of our person, our being, our substance. Coming up to a reckoning with where we are with our technological endeavors right now, or the way that we are sort of going beyond whatever Saturn has been telling you, which is always very limited, right? Not the entire picture, right? But Saturn and Uranus are going to be in this difficult configuration for the next year. So yeah, I feel like we're like kind of like on like a personal energy level, kind of feeling out what that is. With the Mars opposition thing, we already went through that. It was people being confused. People say things they don't understand what they're saying. People think they see what they mean, or they think they see you. That's the other thing with Neptune, is like people can really be living out their assumptions or their beliefs or their story about the situation, and they do not see the people in the situation. They do not see the situation as it is at all. So that can be a thing with Neptune, and we already lived through that a bit. There's a little bit left of that this week, I think. But with the moon, with Mars trining Pluto, we are really going to we're really putting our drive into how we can find these higher levels of power, so to speak, or really putting that commitment into our drive into like this I would say like long-term focus with Pluto. How you want to it's kind of like a short-term focused thing, because Mars has pretty short-term goals, and Pluto has, what are Pluto's goals? I guess to I think I heard something good recently. It was like to dredge up the things from like the lower reaches of the underworld or so on. And I have that Mercury square Pluto in my chart, so I kind of feel that kind of like my Mercury kind of like digs out the really deep stuff maybe you don't want to look at, right? So maybe our drive is going into a direction that we don't really want to go exactly, but it is very strong, but it doesn't feel comfortable with that Venus square. So use it for what you can use it for, but you see the nature of this more speculative astrology. I just kind of want to experiment with not using so much of it, or kind of focusing more on the traditional finance where we can really get like the domicile, like the rulership scheme is very solid, and et cetera, et cetera. So okay, we're gonna just go into it, starting on Sunday. Okay, I know we just kind of did that all out of order and whatever, but so we get up on Sunday morning, and I think we feel, it's kind of confrontational. I mean, it's even like a confrontation with a religious figure, or someone representing a good disposition, or a good way of thinking about things. And Jupiter has been going through this retrograde so far, and Jupiter's lost dignity. He's now not in his home sign. He's now retrograde. And he's in Saturn's sign, who's also retrograde. So Jupiter energy is pretty, it's not very good. We're not really like moving forward with like, prosperous business type deals. Exactly. I mean, you could be, right? Depending. But, that Jupiter energy in the ambient is really talking more about like fixing the problems, or like being a part of the solution, or conforming to an ecclesiastical model maybe, but yeah, maybe the moon, I think the moon in Leo here is not entirely on board with that, but so it could be more confrontational, or it could be like just having a one-on-one encounter with a person of Jupiter on Sunday morning. I think is pretty likely. But throughout the rest of the day on Sunday, we're void of course off the Jupiter. So, I mean, it's a little like nothing really, like the void of course moon. Nothing really becomes of it. Like isn't not really significant towards anything coming up during this time, perhaps, depending on your chart. But, kind of like with the moon in Leo, we're still feeling that fire, we're still feeling that boldness and tenacity. And that kind of burns with us a little bit all day, I think. As the moon goes into Virgo on the evening of Sunday, we get analytical, we get critical. And the moon has so little light at this point. We're going into a new moon in Virgo. And I'll go ahead and say I intend to make these new moon and full moon videos for my public channel instead. I really think that'll be a good offering, and really work a lot better with the algorithm. I don't really like the way the algorithm touches I don't want the algorithm to touch my video. your algorithm out here. But so we have this new beginning, or this new phase that's going to come in with the moon and the sun, right? So like old things are passing away relative to this area of your chart, and there's going to be a new difficulty in this part of your chart because Mars is here, and with the new fresh moon coming so close to Mars on I guess Monday or Tuesday, on Tuesday morning, right? All throughout the morning we are really before I just kind of jump into Tuesday, let's go back to Monday here. So Monday really is the new moon. It's not really an active time. We're not really taking action, not really moving forward with projects, right, as far as like building light is concerned, but we are releasing what remains, or like what this area of your life, Virgo, what it signifies in your chart. Something passes away and something becomes again, and that's kind of what happens on Monday, I guess. I think it's just like it's like when you get all the fireworks set up and like you get really good fireworks and you just, they're all set up, ready to go, and then like that push, or that domino that gets pushed, right? It like sets all these things in motion that were latent, right? So it's like it's a day of latent potential. With the new moon there, we saw all of those aspects that the planets are making to the outer planets. So it's a highly significant moment to really be conscious of God and of your place in His world. And this area of your life, maybe there's something new that comes up here. Virgo, that part of Virgo is my 12th house, so it's feeling like people are in my head, I'm in their head, like I don't exist, like you kind of exist, but it's like I'm like, it's like kind of like you ever watch like those kid shows where like the kid like dies and then like death brings them back and like shows them like their life with the other kids, and the kid's like, hey, like I'm right here, can you see me? And like nobody else can see me. That's kind of like what the 12th house is like. But so I mean, for me, that's like a whole new thing that I have to go through. But I hope that's good for you. I think we've belabored it too much because we were already starting to get into this Tuesday. But we should mention that on September 6th, Monday morning, Venus will perfect that trine to Jupiter. So this very nice Venus energy working with Jupiter and Venus really agree on a lot of different issues. They're not totally on board with a lot of things entirely, but they really do agree a lot about a lot of different things. So I think you can have a sense of hope, you can have a sense of purpose, and really be expanding with your Venus potencies, as you will, in your life as you go along. But especially on Monday morning, I really think you can really feel that energy the most. Probably Sunday night. Monday morning is the best time because that'll gradually dissipate in the ambient as we keep going. So, okay. But as we get into Tuesday, the moon will be fresh off of that new moon and applying the conjunction to Mars. So I want to say that there's like a new problem that you have to deal with in this area of your life. There's a new irritating difficulty or something that has a new life that comes out at this time, for better or worse, and that's just unfortunately the kind of part of the way it is, with Mars being so close to that new moon and Mercury ruling that Mars, right? So there's a new dimension of difficulty that sort of is coming in a new way, and I think it's easy to see that. In my Mundane astrology reports that I'm going to be doing, when I'm talking about the transits to the Mundane chart in America, we're going to look at the houses of the Mundane chart, either East or West USA, and kind of talk about what's going on there. And I could mention here is that Mars has been in the 8th house of the eastern side of the United States. So we saw the desolation cross through the entire country as throughout this past week. So I'm certain that this, in the mundane context, will be related to the rebuilding of the devastation. And kind of like, where do you begin from a devastation? Unfortunately, that's what we have. This what this new moon is talking about with Mars being there. But on a personal level, it's going to be kind of irritating on Tuesday morning, Mars's day. Moon's applying to Mars. We're just not really feeling, people in the communities that you may be running in, will be aggressive. There will be like a sense of aggressive people being around, right? Or otherwise like, a threat of danger sort of like kind of being there with you. At least that's how it feels. That's kind of like the feeling that I would expect on Tuesday morning, going towards the afternoon. People probably just be a little angry, that's whatever. But probably really putting, those new moon intentions towards what comes after destruction, right? Really. So as the moon goes into Libra on Tuesday evening, still very new. We should mention that once the moon is void, of course, off of Mars, it won't be as aggressive, won't be as, something about Mars and Virgo is just like very, very pinprick, like sort of aggressiveness, right? So, it will take on that character, and I feel like I'm overemphasizing that because I am personally having a difficult Mars transit, so it is more relevant to me, I guess, what is happening with Mars, and that interesting how that's really refocusing my my perspective when I'm not consciously trying to be a little bit more objective, right? But so the moon goes into Libra, and I think we have a bit of a sigh of relief here on Tuesday night as we go into Wednesday, because the moon here will be under the control of bona fide Venus. Venus is in her last days of being in this rejoicing condition here in Libra. So all these moon activities that come out of Wednesday and Thursday, right, when the moon connects to Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, all of these things have this bona fide Venus in the ambient. So things will work out for a lot of people this week. Things will really kind of be as good as they could have been for the rest of the week, because when Venus goes into Scorpio, it will be, it's just not, it's very, very different. We'll get to that. But as we get into Wednesday, we'll stay with Wednesday. We get that sense of starting that night, Tuesday night, of I think easier communication, easier socializing, being a little bit easier to talk to people or kind of interface with people, because as Mars has been in Virgo, Mars and Mercury are not friends, and and Mercury really rules the way we interface, or like the way an interaction is going to go. Like if I go out and try to talk to my neighbors, the natural condition of that relationship is going to show up. In terms of Mercury's disposition and Mercury's the way Mercury is, and Mercury's in a fine place right here. Venus is really making Mercury do whatever I'm doing right now with this video, right? It's really showing the information in a very pretty or otherwise more pleasant way than it otherwise could have been. But there still is that Mars and Virgo kind of grittiness. I think kind of there, right? No really way around it. So the moon keeps applying and applying and applying all day to Mercury. So very good day for mercurial tasks. You're organizing your your business planning, your business, really not your planning, but more like the way that you execute your business, right? Or like just getting the details done, as boring as that may be. It really will be easier on this day. And then the moon starts applying to Venus, which I think is really a really wonderful thing. We didn't talk about the trine to Saturn though. So Mercury at this point has already trined Saturn retrograde, so we've brought in a new and more durable, stable way of doing this type of business or mercurisating. And the moon is really manifesting that, or like really putting the light on that, where we can like see it in a tangible way throughout all of that. So I think it's very strong. It's very, the ambient. I've used that word several times in this episode, but it's like the conditions of the world are really set up for very much a harmonious interaction, I hope. Let's just throw on the outer planets real fast, just cause, I guess. Okay, so, and that has some meaning for us on Thursday here. So on Thursday, the moon will making that square to Pluto, which is not at all an enjoyable experience. While the moon makes that trine to Jupiter, because Jupiter and Pluto are in a semi-sextile 30-degree angle, they're in a 30-degree aspect. So this this moon, is really between a rock and a hard place, or it's really between a very nice. Jupiter's really not in a nice place either, right? Jupiter himself isn't in a nice place, but it's kind of like you get to see your friend and like in a bad place and in a bad time, and things. That moon square to Pluto can really like put the pressure on you, like you're really. It's like you could fight against the market makers or the banks, but as a person, and this is kind of a Saturn signification too. Pluto and Saturn kind of share this signification of like it's like you versus the powers, and that's not stacked up fairly at all. So it's kind of like that sort of situation. But it's like in a nice house because the moon is applying to Venus here on this Thursday. So overall, I think especially once we get past that square to Pluto, I think the rest of Thursday works out really well. Really a nice day. The pleasantness is flowing in the world for a final time before Venus moves into Scorpio. And so the moon will be void, of course, off of Venus. So our ability to really, Mercury kind of like deals with the interfacing aspect, but Venus really like connects us socially, right? Or like brings about the conditions for good social functioning, right? So we can really see that happening on Thursday. And as we get void of course, whatever, void of course moon. But the moon goes into Scorpio and makes the square to Saturn retrograde during Venus's ingress into Scorpio. And this is an interesting thing that I wanted to show you. So take a look. So the Venus moves into... She's in the energetic degree. So here's the thing. So the Venus is in her own sign during this moment. Mars is in Mercury's sign. Mercury is in Venus's sign. Moon is in Mars' sign. So look at the chain here. You've got Venus ruling Mercury, ruling Mars, ruling the moon. And then we advance it a little bit. Let's see. And then look how much that changes. So from there we have Mars still ruling the moon, but now Mars is ruling Venus, and Venus is still ruling Mercury, and Mercury's still ruling Mars. But we have this chain of disposition that has a circular flow within it. I'm sure it has a name, but I think this counts as a mutual reception because the planets are dispositing each other in this arrangement. So honestly, I don't think this moon energy itself is that bad, or like Scorpio energy itself is that bad right here. In my opinion. But the moon still will be making that square to Saturn. And that will perfect in so mid-afternoon here. So, we're not comfortable. We're dealing with a sense of unfairness or limitation or mandatory conformity type stuff. Saturn really goes hard on being the greater malefic. He really does. And so we'll be dealing with those kind of feelings as we go through the day on Friday, just really not comfy. And we know that Uranus is like advanced a little bit beyond Saturn. So after that square to Saturn, we want to do something different. We want to break out and do something liberative, and there is that liberative moment does happen. But as Venus goes into Scorpio, she loses her domicile rulership, and now is in Mars sign, and in a mutual reception. So I think this step down in dignity isn't that bad either, because now that well, let's see. Well, yeah, we have that circle going on, right? And then I mean to say that when Mars goes into Libra, they'll have that mutual reception, which will work out very easily. And so the good times still kind of roll in a little bit, in a way, but kind of like not the same. Definitely not the same as Venus and Libra. So, oh, what happened today? Okay, we'll just whatever. So, yeah, Venus and Scorpio. I mean, she's Scorpio is like a tar pit. It's like a sticky, gooey sort of nasty place. In a lot of ways, it is not comfortable for the moon. It's not comfortable for Venus because Venus is talking about our values, our society. If Venus is talking about society, it's like it's a little bit, like kind of what Venus enjoys in this place is not a dignified enjoyment, or like you want something that's like not exactly like I don't know. It's not like normal girl stuff. It's like more like emo girl stuff when you go into Venus and Scorpio, right? But right. So I mean, what we enjoy will change, but I don't think the dignity will actually get that much worse. So I think that's pretty cool for a minute. But Saturday here, not a lot goes on except for the moon. So I mean, we're still the moon's still in Scorpio, feeling that funkiness, feeling that like that slipperiness that things sort of have. That's like not comfortable, but like you just kind of like glide through the world. It's kind of like the sound of like a tire, kind of like squealing on the pavement, type stuff. And it really gets into this like kind of dreaminess, especially as here we can see that the sun has gone that opposition to Neptune coming up as well. So we're kind of confused about our money. We're kind of confused about like what we find substantial, or we're focused on what we think is substantial and it's just an illusion, right? That I think that'll definitely be coming in this time with both of the luminaries aspecting Neptune. But who cares about Neptune? Well, Neptune's fine. It's fine. Neptune. God created all the planets, right? For a reason. So I mean, I can't really disrespect any of them at all. But at the same time, we're gonna joke about Neptune. So, but the moon is kind of, I think the moon has been a pretty good way on Saturday overall. You can read out these moods for yourself here. We got the sun, we got the Neptune, we got the Jupiter square, and we got the moon sextile to Pluto in the end of the day, and then that sextile to Mars by the evening time. So I think there's a lot of like room to work things out. There's like a good light on the moon now, where we can really work things out with. I think the way things kind of got set up with that moon and Libra transit, it's not like it's one and done entirely. I don't think that's really the way the moon works. I think the moon, sets things up the moon manifests things that are bodily, right? So we have this way of interfacing that came out on Monday, and this like sense of relating that still has relevancy because in a way Venus is still ruling the moon, right? Even though she's in Mars' sign because of the chain of disposition. Okay. So the moon feeling kind of weird. Jupiter's kind of, I don't know exactly if Jupiter's doing anything good for the moon right here. I think so. I think Jupiter always tries to do something good, but I think we're really in a dream world. But like, even though we're kind of dreaming, Jupiter's going to do his job, and he's going to make it work out right in the way that he does. So that is the week of astrology. Thank you for listening. I hope it was a good report for you. So to see these reports in the future, they're going to be exclusively on my Patreon. They will not be on YouTube I hope to see you there. Hope you can get over there, and I'll catch you on the next video. God bless you. It might just be where I live, but the religious people I know, or the church people I know, unfortunately, come close to implying that wisdom isn't from God or isn't of God. And that's a difficult thing, because you're expected, once you become washed in the blood, saved by the cross, washed by the blood, you're expected to become wise. You have to obtain wisdom from God. And Jesus had this exact same problem. I think, if I look at me, I guess, like, I'm an astrologer, so I'm doing work in the astrology world, right? And the world cannot accept him. They can't understand Christ. They can't accept Jesus. So they cannot enter into the wisdom of God. Does that make sense? Without the cross, you can't actually access the wisdom of God, because that's where God is, right? And we can only access that through Christ. So that's not possible. But the religious people also would not accept Christ, right? In the Bible, they refused to believe, and they depended on the religiosity and their own righteousness by their code of law, right? By the law, by the Torah. Righteousness by fulfilling the law. But point being, they were envious of him. They hated him. They could not understand him. So he was between a rock and a hard place, and that's why his own people crucified him. The leaders of the people, they had him crucified by the Romans. So my point in putting this little segment in my video is just to consider that you have to get the wisdom from God. Absolutely. There's no way around it. If you really want to enter into mysteries of good things, you have to become wise, and that's only available through Christ. Hallelujah. Praise God. So we'll talk about this more later. I just wanted to share this because I was I guess I'm just upset about religious people right now. But that's okay, like, you have to leave them alone pretty much. Like, if somebody refuses wisdom, they won't hear it. Jesus in Matthew, he tells us to let them alone, right? The blind leading the blind will both go into the ditch, right? So, gosh, I gotta fix my oil today, but anyway, peace out.